So I decided to create another video, in this case, towards INTP emotions and how we see them, or in this case, how I see them. We have emotions, obviously. We are not psychopaths, but we don't let them out as easily, I guess, as most people, for some reason. We don't like, or at least I don't like, the idea of becoming so emotional that I don't control myself, or that I'm not in complete control of my actions. Yes, you can say that. We are not. Maybe this makes us seem robotic or just detached, and to a certain degree, I guess it's true. We're not completely. For example, I've debated other types, and I know that they were more feeling type than thinking. And to them, some topics were harsh to debate, I guess. And for me, they were completely normal and completely debatable and completely reasonable to debate. I like to argue, or I like to think logically, or I make an effort to think logically, and I think that I do. Obviously, I can't be sure of all the outcomes, of all the possible outcomes. But I think emotions get in the way sometimes. If you are very angry at someone, or if you know that someone did something that you don't like, many times that has nothing to do with the current situation. That has nothing to do with what you are living in that moment, I guess. Yet, just because you don't like that person, or because you know that that person did something that you didn't like, you are going to let that idea control your future actions and the way that you're going to futurely talk or act towards that person or make a decision. While making decisions, especially very important ones, it's important, I guess, in my opinion, to not leave emotions completely out of it, because you can't make a decision without some sort of emotion behind it, and you can't really control them all the time. But I think it's important to make a good decision based on logic, not what the heart wants, but more what the head wants, what your brain, what your intuition in this case tells you, according obviously to the variables that you know about what the decision you're going to do and about what you want to do in the first place. Yes, I guess I can say that I don't like emotions. I've heard this from other INTPs. Maybe it's a common trait, but I don't particularly like them because I think they are distractions most of the time. Not always, of course, they are needed, and don't get me wrong, but not as necessarily as it is in my case to use logic. And I don't mean logic like being cold. I mean logic like seeing the bigger picture, because I know that some people see or think, oh, logic is just being cold or acting cold and distant and not thinking about the others. No, that's something else. That's not logic. Logic is, in my view, being able to see the bigger picture without completely ignoring emotions, but making emotions being a part of this plan that you're going to create in the future, or that you want to act on, and make emotions like 5% of the reasoning behind what you're going to do, and make logic 95%, being logic, of course, part of the emotions. So it's important that you are not completely controlled by them. At least in my opinion, I don't like the idea of being controlled by emotions. Again, I have them, but I don't like the idea of being controlled by them. I've heard from other INTPs, again, maybe it's a common trait, that we wish that people would be more logical or less emotional. I guess that would be better. Maybe not more logical, but less emotional or less attached. Again, this doesn't mean cold. It means just less attached, less reactive, I guess, to smaller things. Like, one of my experiences, I think, it's that people react very aggressively or just very quickly or make quick decisions without actually thinking about them, or just very reactive about something without properly, in my opinion, having the time to analyze it thoroughly, without making a further analysis of what's better to do. Maybe it's so boring, like, I think this is so boring maybe for the outside, for someone that is not an INTP, that can't relate. Maybe it's very boring, but that this is how we are, I guess, or this is at least how I am. I make decisions based on logic, based on how things are and how they could be in the future, and how they are, or how they are going to be in the future, based on how I act now. So in conclusion, we have emotions. Obviously, INTPs have emotions like everyone else, but we most of the time don't like acting on them. We prefer being on our own and just acting according to what we think is the best, instead of what we feel is the best. I think that's the main point. We think more than we feel, and that's why we pass sometimes as cold and distant, and sometimes we are. But yes, everyone can be at the time cold and distant. It's not just us. So concluding on what I've heard from other INTPs, yes, we would prefer if people were less emotional and more reasonable. I guess that you can say that. And we have emotions, but we choose not to act on them as often as most people apparently do. And that's it.